Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy my stories. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification icon so you never miss out. Now on with the stories.
I still can't believe the audacity of our Homeowners Association. They demanded access to my unit, claiming it was a plumbing emergency, and then left me with a mess to deal with. I had to take time off work to accommodate their so-called emergency, only to find out it was nothing more than a minor issue that could have been handled at a more convenient time. The whole ordeal started when I received a call from the HOA, telling me they needed to send someone to my unit to fix a plumbing issue. They claimed it was an emergency and that they needed access to my closet and both bathrooms. I was at work at the time, so I had to leave early to let them in. I wasn't happy about it, but I figured it was better to get it over with. When I arrived home, I was greeted by a plumber who seemed to be in no hurry. He told me he needed to cut holes in the drywall to access the pipes, and that he would have to clear out my closet and bathrooms to do so. I was annoyed, but I figured it was necessary. What I didn't expect was the lack of care he took when doing the work. He cut holes in the drywall without any precision, and then proceeded to break several pieces of the drywall while trying to insert a new pipe. To make matters worse, he didn't even bother to patch up the holes he made. Instead, he expertly screwed in cardboard to cover them up. I was shocked when I saw the state of my closet and bathrooms. It looked like a construction zone, with drywall dust and debris everywhere. When I asked the plumber about it, he just shrugged and told me he didn't do drywall, and that I would have to talk to the HOA about getting it fixed. I was furious. These people had disrupted my day, caused a mess in my home, and now they were telling me I had to wait for them to send someone to fix the damage. And the only reason they told me that was because I had to call them to let them know about the issue. If I hadn't called, I'm sure they would have just left me with the mess. The problem was we only have 2 bathrooms in our unit, and both of them now had large holes in them. Taking a shower was going to be a challenge, and the cardboard covering the holes was not going to prevent water from getting in. I was worried about the damage it could cause, and I knew I had to get it fixed as soon as possible. But when I called the HOA to report the issue, they told me they might be able to send someone in 5 days. Maybe. It was like they didn't care about the inconvenience they had caused me. I asked to speak to a supervisor, but of course no one was available. As I looked around at the mess, I couldn't help but think about the circumstances that led to this situation. The people next door, who were friends with the property management team, had been doing some renovations and had supposedly noticed a small leak. That's what triggered the whole plumbing emergency. But when the plumber finally showed up, there was no sign of water damage or even moisture. It was like they had fabricated the whole thing just to get access to my unit. I was angry, but I was also frustrated. I had taken time off work, and now I was left to deal with the aftermath. I had to take pictures of the damage and send them to the HOA, hoping they would take responsibility for the mess. But I wasn't holding my breath. As I looked around at the cardboard-covered holes, I couldn't help but feel like I was living in a construction zone. It was like the HOA had declared war on my unit, and I was just a casualty. I knew I had to fight back, but I wasn't sure where to start. I decided to start by documenting everything. I took pictures of the damage, and I kept a record of all my conversations with the HOA. I also started researching my rights as a homeowner, and I was shocked at what I found. It seemed that the HOA had a lot of power, but they also had a lot of responsibilities. And one of those responsibilities was to maintain the property and ensure that homeowners were not inconvenienced unnecessarily. I knew I had a fight ahead of me, but I was determined to get justice. I was going to make sure that the HOA took responsibility for the mess they had caused, and that they fixed it in a timely manner. I was going to make sure that they didn't take advantage of me or any other homeowner in the complex. As I looked around at the mess, I knew that this was just the beginning. I was going to take on the HOA, and I was going to win. The days that followed were some of the most frustrating of my life. I continued to press the HOA to fix the damage they caused, but it seemed like I was talking to a brick wall. They kept promising that someone would come to patch up the holes, but no one showed up. I even tried to repair the drywall myself, but it was a disaster. I ended up making the holes bigger and creating an even bigger mess. My showers became a daily battle to keep the water from leaking through the cardboard. The bathrooms were constantly dusty, no matter how many times I cleaned them. It felt like I was living in a perpetual construction site. To make matters worse, the smell of damp drywall was starting to permeate the air, and I worried that mold might start growing if the issue wasn't resolved soon. I kept documenting everything, taking notes of every conversation and every promise made by the HOA. I started to feel like a detective, gathering evidence for a case that was becoming more and more frustrating with each passing day. I also reached out to my neighbors to see if anyone else had experienced similar issues, but most of them seemed resigned to the whims of the HOA. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, someone from the HOA showed up to assess the damage. He took one look at the mess and promised that someone would be back the next day to start repairs. I was relieved but also cautious. I had heard promises from the HOA before, and they had all been empty. True to their word, the repair crew did show up the next day. However, their idea of fixing the holes was to slap on some plaster and paint over it. It looked like a rushed job, and I could still see the outlines of the cardboard patches under the paint. When I pointed this out, they assured me that it was the best they could do under the circumstances. At that point, I was so tired of fighting that I just wanted it to be over. I accepted the half-hearted repairs and tried to move on with my life, but the experience had left a bitter taste in my mouth. I no longer trusted the HOA to act in my best interest, and I became more involved in the community meetings to ensure that others wouldn't suffer the same fate. Looking back, I realized that the whole ordeal had been a wake-up call. I had always assumed that the HOA was there to protect me and maintain the value of my home. But now I saw them as just another bureaucracy, more concerned with their own power than with the well-being of the residents they were supposed to serve. In the end, I did manage to get some compensation for the damage, but it wasn't enough to cover the time I had to take off work or the stress it caused. And while the repairs eventually held up, I knew that they were only a band-aid solution to a much deeper problem. I still live in the same unit, but things are different now. I'm more vigilant about my rights as a homeowner, and I'm not afraid to speak up when I see something that isn't right. The experience taught me that sometimes you have to fight for what's fair, even when the odds are stacked against you. And as for the HOA, well, let's just say that they haven't heard the last of me. Get pics and explain clearly why resulting damages from their servicemen under normal free and fair use of your space will result in damages to the property where you, the tenant, will not be responsible for. Take pics of the cardboard and ask if that is standard construction up to code. And better yet, ask them to confirm the number for a local code enforcement. That's to let them know it's on your radar. Complain of coughing from the drywall dust. Ask what kind of monetary compensation they can confirm. Figure out your day rate at work, and then propose a rental adjustment in the amount lost due to their negligence, less than use that word, in planning safe and sound construction activities in an occupied house. Don't let them off the hook for a second. I'm saying this as a service plumber with 15 years experience. Rarely does the plumber repair drywall. If they opened the tile side of the showers, they should have made it usable by putting plastic over the holes. I don't do drywall repairs myself, but I do give the building the option of having our guys come out and redo drywall and tile. Usually our guy will be on site inside a few days. In the meantime, I make it as usable as possible. It sounds like you had a valve replacement of some type. If that's the case, everything should have been doable from the backside of the showers, and your bathrooms would be fully functional. They are probably talking with their lawyers about if they have to do this. The lawyers will say no. Technically this is your loss, and you have to either pay for it or claim it on insurance. Potentially you could get a public adjuster to insist the entire wall be replaced from this. Make it super effing expensive so you can get a bit of a renovation, and if you're lucky it costs enough that the HOA gets hit with a subrogation and their insurance goes up. Then you can smile at the board and say, we all would have paid a lot less if you fixed the wall you broke instead of forcing me to claim insurance. Sounds like there was a leak or similar in a pipe that was causing issues in one of the other units, and the only way to properly fix it required access by removing some drywall in your unit. Plumbers do not do drywall. They'll remove it if it's in the way, but fixing it is not something they do. Depending on how much of a rush it was and where you are located, that plumber was likely $100 to $200 or more per hour, and they are not experts in patching drywall. I'm still fuming as I sit here, trying to process what just happened. I tried to attend my hearing and they didn't let me into the virtual meeting. I mean, what kind of incompetence is this? I've been stressing about this bill for weeks, and my insurance company advised me to attend the hearing because liability was questionable on their part. So I cleared my schedule, made sure I had a stable internet connection, and logged into the Zoom meeting room 10 minutes early. As I waited, I started to feel a sense of unease. The minutes ticked by, and I was still stuck in the waiting room. I thought maybe it was just a technical glitch, so I exited the meeting and tried again. But no, I was still not admitted. I tried multiple times, thinking maybe it was just a one-time mistake. But no, I was stuck in limbo, unable to join the meeting. 20 minutes went by, and I was still waiting. Not a single courtesy email or notification from the organizers. Nothing. It was as if I was invisible. I started to feel frustrated, anxious, and helpless. I had prepared for this hearing, rehearsing my arguments and gathering all the necessary documents. And now it seemed like it was all for nothing. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I received an email from the organizers. They apologized for the inconvenience and explained that their other hearings had run over, causing the delay. They told me that they would table my case until the next board meeting in July, and I would be allowed to speak then. I'm still trying to process my emotions. I'm angry, disappointed, and feeling defeated. I had been looking forward to this hearing, hoping to finally get some resolution to this stressful situation, and now it seems like I'll have to wait another month. The bill in question has been weighing heavily on my mind. It's a significant amount, and I'm not sure how I'll be able to pay it. My insurance company has been dragging their feet, and I'm starting to feel like they're not taking my case seriously. That's why I was so adamant about attending the hearing. I wanted to make my case, to explain my situation, and to plead my case. But now I'm not sure if I'll ever get the chance. I've emailed my response to the hearing, but it's not the same as speaking directly to the board members. I feel like my words will get lost in cyberspace, ignored and forgotten. I'm also worried that this delay will hurt my case. The longer this drags on, the more I'll have to pay in interest and penalties. It's like they're punishing me for something that's not even my fault. As I sit here trying to calm down, I can't help but wonder what would have happened if I had been allowed to attend the hearing. Would I have been able to make a stronger case? Would the board members have been more sympathetic to my situation? I'll never know now. All I can do is wait and hope that the next board meeting will bring some resolution to this nightmare. I'll have to gather my strength, prepare my arguments, and try again. But for now, I'm left feeling frustrated, disappointed, and helpless. I just wish that the organizers had been more considerate, more understanding. A simple courtesy email or notification would have gone a long way in alleviating my anxiety. But instead, I was left to wonder, to worry, and to wait. As I reflect on this experience, I'm reminded of the importance of communication, of empathy, and of understanding. It's not just about following procedures or protocols. It's about treating people with respect and dignity. And today, I felt like I was treated like just another number, another case file, another problem to be solved. I hope that in the future, the organizers will take a more personal approach, will take the time to understand the people they're dealing with, and will treat them with the respect and care they deserve. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about resolving a case, it's about treating people like human beings.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.